This is the video review for the Power Rangers Samurai Megazord set. This is either a heavy retool or completely new mold based off of the Japanese DX Shinken-oh set. Now, all the basic Zords from the Shinken-oh set are represented, but they all look significantly worse. I mean, significantly worse. The worst two offenders are these two. Let's look at the dragon here. What's bad about it is that it's two halves of a hexagon right next to each other, trying to pass themselves off as a dragon. The original one looked really cool because each segment was about that thick and they were all superposable and you could do just a lot of poses with it. Here it's just ugh. Now you can take the sword that's included and stick it up its butt and make it look a little bit more dragonish just because it's longer. But it really doesn't work. It just... this thing just looks awful. And this is the biggest offender just because of how much they simplified it. Because the original one was fairly complex and interesting. This one, not so much. To transform it into its leg mode, press this button here, which will release the crown. Fold it in half, and fold this up. Here you got a leg. I'll put this off to the side. The next worst offender is the Monkey Zord. What's bad about it? Well, even the original one, this part looked kind of plain, but look at that. That looks awful. You see all of the... how should I explain this? You see all of the plastic saving molding gaps on the side that you're not actually supposed to see. Basically the very unpresentable side. It just looks awful. And to transform this into the arm, you fold it up, and it's an okay arm. It basically looks... all the limbs when they are... all the parts when they're actually in the Megazord mode look basically the way they're supposed to, except for this one, which actually ends up looking a little bit better. But the individual Zord modes are just awful. And I'll go a little bit more into that once I talk about this guy. So I'll put this off to the side. Next we'll take the bear. The bear actually ends up looking decent. These two are the only ones that look remotely good. The bear ends up looking decent. It has a basic silhouette of a bear. I don't mind it, although on the original, this looked a lot better, like it was silver here. It actually looked like it was... well, it looked presentable. To transform it, to the leg mode, fold up the limbs, and fold up the head. For the Red Lion, it looks okay. It looks actually pretty close to the way the original one did. Kind of. You would have to compare them side by side or really pay attention to be able to tell the difference. They didn't destroy this one's individual Zord mode that bad as far as its animal mode, although they did destroy quite a bit of functionality on this thing. Turn this into the torso, fold up the legs, fold up the legs, bring down the torso, pop up the head. And one of the changes they made is they completely changed this abdomen part here. And it's one of the few changes I actually like. Now, I don't like what this change caused elsewhere, but I do think it does make the Megazord mode look a little bit better. We'll get to that when we combine it all. And now we're at the Turtle Megazord, which is the only one that really preserves what it is supposed to be. Now, it's a Turtle Zord. Pretty boring. I mean, this one is considered to be one of the least interesting of the original Shinken-oh set. What I want to show you about this is if you fold in the flippers, open this up, put the head in, and close it up, you get the badge form. And all of these Zords are supposed to be able to have a badge form. And because they don't have these badge forms, the reason why they look the way they do, with the exception of the blue dragon, which doesn't look anything like it's supposed to look, the badge form is supposed to be kind of a, how do I say this, almost like an excuse for why they look the way they do. Without the badge form, the others just look horrible for no reason. What these things are supposed to be is they're supposed to be badges that the rangers would hold, and then they would transform into little animals that would be held in the palm. And the animals were supposed to resemble origami animals. And it was supposed to have just a real origami theme. Now, origami, in this sense, in the Power Rangers Samurai, or in the Shinken, I think it's called Shinken-oh. In Shinken-oh, the word origami is punned to actually mean folding spirits. So, to have the badge form, it makes sense why they look the way they do in their animal modes. Without the badge form, there's just no sense for why they look the way they do. And that's besides the point that they don't even look as good as they're supposed to look in the animal form because so much got neutered. And so much got ripped away. I know I'm rambling a bit on this point, but what really sold me on, what really made me like from watching video reviews of the original Shinken-oh set is they have these badge forms, which are pretty cool. And in terms of pretty cool animals, they don't look like perfect animals, but the theme is present and very easy to identify. With these, you don't get this, you don't get the transformation from this to the animals, and the theme just isn't very well represented. And then, well, let me get this guy into arm mode. The reason why this guy has a badge form is that to transform him from the turtle to the arm, uses every joint basically that would turn him into the badge form. That's why this is the only one where it's preserved. So, what really gets me about this is that because so many features were taken out, you can't transform from the badge to the animal, and then to the Megazords, just animal to the Megazord. So much is lost out on this figure, to the point where the transformation from each individual Zord to its Megazord mode is so simple, and then the combination itself is also really simple that this entire set just comes off as boring. Nothing stands on its own. Everything is for the Megazord. And the combination for the Megazord is really boring. There's nothing interesting that happens. You just have a central unit and then things that plug onto the central unit. And that is the worst kind of combination you can have. And the only way that you can get away with having this kind of combination is if the individual Zords are interesting. And they're not. People who designed the original Shinken-oh toys understood that. They made them all interesting. They made it so that this fairly simple combination worked, because there was a lot in the meantime to make it interesting. Here, it's just everything's for the Megazord mode. The combination is only there because they're shown combining on screen. Now, honestly, I would have been happier with a toy that cost, well, I got this thing on sale at a Ross for about $5, but this thing retailed for between $30 and $40. I'd have been happy if they just made a figure half the size that didn't come apart or go together at all that cost maybe $15. Oh wait, that does exist. There's a Mega Bloks kit where you can, actually several Mega Bloks kits. What you do is you, there's a Mega Block kit for this one, I think this one, and this one. They don't end up combining with anything, they're just those three Zords. And then there's a Mega Bloks kit for the entire Samurai Megazord. And it has, from looking at the box, a fair amount of posability and a fair amount of size, maybe somewhere around here. And when I saw it at Target, it was between $50 and $20, so this thing is just not worth it. For how much money this thing costs at retail, it's awful. Especially since there's a better, more interesting alternative in the form of a Lego style kit. Even if that thing ends up being having the robot mode for that ends up being not very posable, it still had the fun of putting together the Legos. And what really kills me about this is that at I think that I forget exactly how much this thing costs at retail. It depends on where you went, but between $30 and $40, this thing costs close to half as much as you could buy a real Shinken-oh, DX Shinken-oh set on eBay for about $100. So if you didn't buy one of these and just saved up your money for a couple months, you could get an actual decent Shinken-oh that was pretty good. The only downside to doing that is that the one good thing, the one good change they made, which at the sacrifice of this guy's badge mode, is that they changed the way this area looks here. They gave him more substantial thighs. The original Shinken-oh, the thighs are about that long, and then the rest up here is abdomen. That is the only downside to the Shinken-oh compared to this. And it's a small downside. I mean, I mean, it's a solid toy once it's in Megazord mode, but I don't like this. I don't like Megazords just for the Megazord mode. I like the entire package, and it does not deliver. So, well, I kind of like the Megazord mode. It does look decent, and it has basically all the features of the, in Megazord mode, it has basically all the features of the original. This thing is just awful. I hate it. Thank you for watching. And I think I bitch for about 6 or 7 minutes about this thing. I think I'm repeating my points over and over again. I'm sorry, but this thing's awful, and I do not recommend it.